Congressman Teague first. We will start with candidate Brown. And the first question is, we're going to go back to our U.S. congressional candidates for this next question. And I guess I've lost track. It would be Congressman Teague's turn to start this one, so we can kind of set the microphone down. And this is about medical. This is a question that you submitted about the medical legislation. But the question is more specifically, what do you think it's going to take for the parties, the political parties, to work together to create a substantial health care plan for all Americans?
Well, I think it's going to take both parties wanting to see real health care for Americans before they come together to work. You know, we have two situations up there today. We have the Republican Party who is voting constantly no, and is being known as the party of no. And we have the Democratic Party who is leaving the impression that they're not consulting them. But basically, we're going to have the people that are here, the people of the United States are going to have to step forward and tell Congress that they want them to provide health care, what kind of health care they want, and only when that happens will it do that. You know, it's such an emotional issue, and so many people are making political points and collecting campaign money off of inciting people and making them go to rallies and stuff, you know, to scream and holler, and then tell the leaders in Congress and the people get together. Only then will we work on real comprehensive health care for people that both the people want and the people need.
We're supposed to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's just that we kind of forgot to buy the people. We were electing people and we'd send them off to Washington, we'd send them to Santa Fe, and we wouldn't really watch what they were doing. But the American people are engaged now. They're watching with closed eyes. I saw more people that were able to quote exact passages out of that health care bill that could quote the Bible on a regular basis. They were reading it, they understood, and they were holding our elected representatives accountable. And that's what it's going to take. When I was in Congress, I was placed as committee chairman over the National Heart Subcommittee. We were Republicans, were in charge. My leadership said, we got 4 pretty burning issues here, and we want you to just crank them through. I said, I'm sorry, but I won't do that. It's not right. We need to engage the other side. After not meeting for 6 months because my boss wouldn't let me, and I wouldn't agree to his format, he finally allowed me to start meeting. We met with Democrats. I said, look, here are my values as committee chairman. You take those values and you put them to work in words that don't offend your constituencies. So I'm not going to get everything I want, but neither are you. As we did that, we had a fascinating process that caused all 4 bills to pass. Unanimous consent. Unanimous consent is where one person can stand up and say, I want to stop it, and the whole thing fails. We passed those unanimous consent because we had a good consensus going forward. The American people right now are very divided. We need to understand that we live as Republicans and we run as Republicans, we live as Democrats and we run as Democrats or independents. But once the election is over, we should be Americans. We should be working for the better part of the country and to solve these problems. Healthcare, immigration.
This next question will go back to Pearce and Teague. And Mr. Pearce will have the first shot at this question. And it is, what can be done to keep U.S. government out of statehood?
Well, the first thing that should be done is that our representatives in Washington and the judges should start reading the Constitution. The Constitution is actually a very short, small document. In Article 1, begins to talk about our founding fathers' fear of a national government that is too strong. And so Section 8 in Article 1 begins to talk about the very limited list of things that the national government would be permitted to do. Article 9 then goes into the fears that our founders had about a government that was too strong. It began to prohibit ex post facto laws. It began to prohibit bills of attainder. It began to prohibit those things that they had seen in Europe, that they were frightened about a government that could become too big and too strong. That still wasn't enough to get the Constitution even approved by all the states. So they came back with Amendment number 10, which says everything is reserved for the states except those very few things we've given to the national government. I will tell you, our government is too strong, too powerful. It is crushing individuals. It is crushing our initiative. I think the greatest single fight we have is to get the federal government back in check, to do those things that our founding fathers said that it should do. Take care of national security, of our borders, that we can tax and spend for the general welfare. Those are things that our founding fathers had perfect. As we begin to rewrite the Constitution without amending it, we're putting our very security and freedom at risk. The Constitution stands as the protector of your liberties as individuals against all governments. Every government wants to get too strong and too big and to take their tax money and to spend it for what they think is good. And the Constitution is your only defense. And so when we walk away from the Constitution, we walk away from your protection and your liberties. I think we are honor-bound as elected officials to stand up and read that Constitution, to understand it and implement it.
Yes, I think that's a pretty good question, because we always want to keep government out of our business until we need our business, and then we want them in it. And I do think that the less that they're involved in state business, the better we are. I think our education would be better off, if the funds came from the federal government, but not all of the mandates. I know I spent a large time, 8 years being a county commissioner, and that was the things that frustrated us so much at that level was both from the state and the federal. We got a lot of unfunded mandates that they required us to do, and I think that we need to get away from that. We need to, as a people, stand up and tell the federal government that that's what we want. As elected officials, that's what I'm working for. And that's the reason, that I've been recognized as one of the most centrist and independent congressmen in Washington, D.C., is because I don't adhere to the party lines. And both party lines are that way. They want more control over the state government when they're in control of the House and the Senate of the presidency. They want to have more rights to dictate to the state governments. But we need to have people stand up, have leaders, elected officials stand up and speak up for the people and not for the parties. Thank you.